Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with your hot take on the beer virus. There's a lot of articles on the beer virus today. I don't want to scare people. Just a quick recap, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. But I am very skeptical about some of the things that have come out about the virus and how they're rolling things out. I know, Joe. Um, you know, part of the part of my history with this virus is pretty well documented in these videos. I was wearing a mask and encouraging people to wear a mask very early on, you know, and I'm not even anti-mask, but you know, things have gotten a bit out of hand, and I think what has happened is some of the people who are in charge have hijacked this to further push their power and agenda. All right, Joan, come over here. I gave you a bunch of bacon. Did you eat it already? Yeah, I guess you did. But let's check out some of the headlines with the beer virus, Joan. Okay? Physically closed. Alberta health officials shut down Grace Life Church west of Edmonton. Now, is this the same guy? This isn't the same guy because that was Calgary, the guy who kicked the cops out. This is wrong. It's just wrong. But, you know, it's Canada. They don't have the same rules we do. People want to worship. You know, to people who are religious, it is more important for them to be in church and be blessed by God than their lives. They don't want to be outside the church, you know, a couple of weeks and then drop dead. That's their immortal soul you're gambling with. You're gambling with what they believe is their immortal soul. Now, you may not believe in that, but they do. So, you are setting yourself up for a very nasty pushback if you do not respect people's beliefs to an extent. Closing a church, look, this isn't the Black Plague, you know? I don't know if these people are vaccinated. If they're in Canada, they're probably already vaccinated. So I think the government is really pushing this too hard. They're just pushing this too hard, especially against Christians. Because I promise you, against other religions, oh man, the optics on other religions, you know, for Christians, people get away with murder. Governments get away with murder. For non-Christian religions, the optics are so much worse, they tend to shy away from them. So, you know, I don't think they're being consistent. I wouldn't bet on them being consistent, but let's just calm down and let people worship. Let people worship, maybe work with the churches rather than shutting them down. From ESPN, sources, NBA expects full arenas for 21-22 season amid partnership with biometric screening company. Oh boy, sports fans, won't you be excited to give the NBA your medical data, all of it now? Oh, and a bunch of other data, you know, just in case they want to sell you something, in case they need to get at you, in case the government wants to borrow some of it. All right, keep watching that basketball. I'm sure the Chinese government, which they seem to have a very close relationship with, won't have access to it at all. Good luck, sports fans. UK scientists, resurgence in hospitalizations and deaths is dominated by those who have received 2 doses of the vaccine. Ooh, what is this? The resurgence in both hospitalizations and death is dominated by those that received 2 doses of the vaccine, compromising about 60 to 70% of the wave, respectively. This can be attributed to the high levels of uptake in the most at-risk groups. So this isn't necessarily, you know, so calm down. This doesn't mean that the virus is the vaccine is doing something negative. It just means that people at risk, they're really at risk. I mean, that's the sad case of it. You know, the virus really does go after people with comorbidities and who are elderly. It just does. Um, you know, so now it could be the vaccine. I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, the thing about the vaccine and the virus in general that we might have to worry about is what's called a chitocyte. I had this pronounced the other day. Chitocyne? No. Cytokine storm. It's a cytokine storm. Which is apparently what happened during the Spanish flu, right? There was a wave of the virus. It killed a bunch of old people. And then a second wave came through and killed young people. So the chances are very, very tiny that could happen again. It's very, very low. We have much better medical treatments now, too. And there are things in the vaccines that are put in there to make sure something like that won't easily happen. But there's no guarantees in life. So, I mean, that's what we really have to be looking towards. We have to look to see if young people suddenly start getting very, very, very sick. If that's the case, then we're in trouble. But that hasn't happened. So this isn't a good sign, but, it's probably a sign the vaccine is only so effective. I would imagine the vaccine is not 95% effective. That's just my speculation. I'm not a doctor. I think that's an extraordinarily high number. And, they haven't had long-term tests. I think a virus like this mutates too quickly. Certainly, it's very similar to the flu, so you can look to the flu vaccines. I mean, they say the flu is only 50% effective. Maybe it's even less than that. Who knows? Who knows with these pharmaceutical companies? They may be bumping up their numbers a little bit. I mean, who could check them? So, I don't think the vaccine is useless. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. In fact, I think if you're elderly with comorbidities or have comorbidities, you should get one. But, there still needs to be a lot more study. And I don't think the lockdowns are really doing anything at this point, other than enriching a select few people. Montana governor tests positive for beer virus 4 days after taking vaccine. Again, I mean, the test isn't all that accurate. He might have had an asymptomatic variant. So, I don't think it's the vaccine. But, again, I mean, that's troubling. It's not good. I don't know if they test people. Do they test people before they get the vaccine? I don't think they do. So, if you're not having any symptoms, he probably didn't have any symptoms. I mean, if he was sick, I sincerely doubt he would go in for his jab. So, that's a shame. I hope he recovers. He doesn't appear to be elderly or have comorbidities, so hopefully he'll be fine. In Brazil, COVID deaths reach 4,000 a day in Brazil. Wow. Bringing hospitals to breaking point. Ooh, look at that picture. She's got blood all over her. What the heck happened? Miguel Nicoleles, a Brazilian doctor and professor at Duke University, compared the explosion of cases to a nuclear reactor. Well, let's calm down. That's alarming. Sure. It's very alarming. The country is battling a highly contagious local variant. Yeah, see, it just keeps mutating. It's a shame. Brazil's biggest city have emptied old graves to make room amid soaring death tolls. Wow, that's a shame. Well, this is NBC News, so I take this with a grain of salt, but I don't think they're lying. I mean, it'd be a pretty big lie to push. Morgan Freeman says, get the coronavirus vaccine. I'm not a doctor, but I trust science. Okay, well, whatever. I mean, he certainly should get it. He's in that age group. He appears in a public service announcement released Monday by the Creative Coalition, an entertainment industry advocacy group. I'm told for some reason that people trust me. So here I am to say that I trust science and I got the vaccine. If you trust me, you'll get the vaccine. And in the math, it's called the distributed property. In people, it's called taking care of one another. Yeah, come on. Get the vaccine. Help make our world a safer place for us to enjoy again. Yeah, well, I mean, again, you know, I got a doctor's thing coming up, and I got to get a beer virus test 4 days ahead of time. And then I got to quarantine myself for 4 days. And they added, even if you got the vaccine. To which I was like, well, what's the point of the vaccine? If I'm already vaccinated and it's a 95% chance, I got to quarantine myself for 4 days. You know, on the 5% chance, that seems extreme. It seems extreme. And why haven't they developed a test that you could get right at the doctor's, that you could get like literally at the door? Because if you pay enough money, you can get the results like that. So why isn't that test, that money test, right at the door of these hospitals? I don't understand. So, you know, more age groups are being opened up to the vaccine. Personally, again, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but I'm going to wait. It's just me. I'm going to wait a few more months at least. You do what you want. If you got comorbidities, I think you should take one, but I'm not a doctor. If you're elderly, you should take one. Again, I'm not a doctor. But, you know, because it's about a risk assessment. It also depends on what your deal is. Like, I'm not working at my gig anymore, seeing people on a daily basis. I'm at a really low risk now. I am doing a convention on April 10th, Saturday, from 10 to 4 at the Ocean City Music Pier at the Comics and Memorabilia Show. So then I'll be at risk, but I will have a mask and hand sanitizer, and I will, you know, these things aren't that crowded. So I don't think I'm at that much of a risk going to a small event like that. But, you know, you take your chances. So, I mean, I think Morgan Freeman's just doing what most people in his position would probably do. You know, oh, we want to do this PSA, get people to get the vaccine. He's trying to convince people. I think it's counterproductive in some ways because most people in Hollywood were so political during the Trump admin, they're kind of tainted, and the very people they're trying to convince are going to be less convinced by something like this. The only people he could convince are already taken the vaccine, so we're set. Joe Biden breaks social distancing guidelines at vaccine center. Yeah, because he's out of his mind with dementia and he doesn't remember anything. Oh, we got video here. Let me see if I can play it without playing the sound. There we go. Oh, great. We got to load an ad. All right, forget it. He is just terrible. I mean, Biden is just the worst. Biden commented during a visit to a vaccine site in Virginia to promote Americans getting the vaccine. During his conversation with one woman, Biden leaned toward her and told her to keep practicing the CDC guidelines during the pandemic. I mean, does this guy even remember anything? Okay? It's been months and months and months of this. When the President of the United States can't remember the social distancing, what are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing with him? Will someone chastise this old creep? Keep wearing the mask. Wash the hands and socially distance, which I'm not doing, he said as people around him laughed. I'm going to get in trouble here. It's not a joke. According to you, it's not a joke. Okay? If it's not a joke, what the F are you doing? Oh, I forgot. The rules don't apply to anybody with the last name of Biden. From the Daily Mail, Oxford University pauses trials of its AstraZeneca beer virus vaccine in children amid fears about its links to blood clots in young people. Yeah, this has gone back and forth. First they said, oh, blood clots. And then they said, oh, it's a rumor. Now they're saying it again. I don't know. I wouldn't get an AstraZeneca jab, that's for sure. I mean, this is the only one that's been linked to anything that I've heard. But these are mostly in Europe. So, and that there's even a chance you could get a blood clot and you're a young person. Why would you get this? Why would you get this? What are the chances against the chances of actually getting the virus and dying? I think that needs to be lined up. And we're going to find that out 10 years from now when it doesn't matter. But right now, no data. Not enough studies. At Zero Hedge, New York's vaccine passport is already failing. What a shocker. Liberty advocates rejoice. The idiocracy is going to save us from another beer virus tyranny thanks to a combination of bungling from authoritarians and decaying legacy corporations. These entities are simply too incompetent to pull off a functioning vaccine passport program. Right, hallelujah. Let's see. New York's rollout of its vaccine passport already has the markings of a 5-alarm dumpster fire. The New York State... Oh, let me close that. Jesus. Talk about ads. The New York State Excelsior Pass, a vaccine passport system which was created by IBM, has so many issues that it wouldn't be surprised if the program was scrapped altogether before the end of the calendar year. It has massive security flaws, a shrinking customer base by design. It remains incredibly impractical, and it's incredibly easy to manipulate. Excelsior Pass sucks thanks to the idiocracy that was responsible for its designing and implementation. Say what you want about the Knicks game this evening at Madison Square Garden. They're a partner to the Excelsior Pass program. It's 9 a.m. and your events is at 7:30 p.m. If you don't have the vaccine yet, that means you will need to obtain a negative beer virus test to receive your pass. Want to take the test this morning? Not so fast. The antigen test needs to have been administered within the last 6 hours. What? So you better plan your entire day around navigating the short window between your beer virus test and the event this evening. So you're going to take an antigen test 6 hours before the game? That sounds really impractical. Okay. Anything that will kill the NBA, knock yourself out, New York. Destroy it. Destroy it all. Make them all move. You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see the NBA pick up and move to China. Just move the whole thing to China and let's be rid of it. Maybe we'll create an American basketball league instead of one that's so beholden to that. Just received your second dose and you're ready to hit the town? Not so fast. You must wait at least 2 weeks before your green checkmark appears on your vaccine passport. Has it been more than 90 days since your last dose? Rejected. You only have a 76-day window, more than the 14 days under the 90 days, to acquire a Vax Pass, which has to be renewed every 30 days. What the hell kind of thing is this? Received a vaccine COVID test from out of state, took a private home test kit or from a provider that is not registered in New York State Central Database. Looks like you're out of luck. You will not be able to receive your prized Excelsior Pass because your information never made it into the system. Wow. Are you an out-of-state resident looking to attend an event or enter an Excelsior Pass participating store? You're out of luck. The New York system does not communicate with other databases, and other states plan on rewarding vaccine passport contracts to other companies. Oh my God, this is a nightmare. In order to download your Excelsior Pass on your phone, you need to get the latest versions of Android or iOS. For users of phones that have more that are more than 4 to 5 years, that means you will not be able to access the application. If you have an iPhone 6 or earlier, you can't download Excelsior Pass because it only runs the latest operating system, which doesn't work on older phones. Users of the apps are absolutely hammering it for its dysfunction. Of the 240 reviews of the application on iOS, over 100 receive a 1 star out of 5. Here's a single sample of the user complaints last week. Your Vax passport is only valid for 30 days. Plus, don't display date of birth, password protect, integrate Apple Wallet support. Does not reflect all data. I'm a resident of NYS, but was unable to get my vaccine in Florida while there for the winter. I will never be in any NYS stats or database. We need a national approach to the issue. Oh, shut up. We need to stop having each state do their own thing. Doesn't work. Downloaded it and filled it with the required information about my vaccination. I was within the time requirements, and yet it said I wasn't eligible for the certificate. Oh my God. Terrible app for a terrible state. Needs to be changed to be useful. I am not eligible for a vaccine pass because the app says it's been more than 180 days since my last shot. First, it has not been 180 days. Second, I was under the impression the app provides proof of vaccination. Why would eligibility for that proof expire after 180 days? Errors continuously gave error message. NYS Health Department does not seem... they don't have the headline here. I recently got vaccinated and PCR tested, but for some reason I can't get neither pass. It is frustrating, and I'm sure that people already don't want to get vaccinated or tested won't put up with these annoyances. Not working for vaccine, won't generate a pass. And it goes on and on and on. I mean, I'm sure IBM made a ton of money building this, though. I'm sure the pharmaceutical companies keep making a lot of money, and I'm sure the New York State Health is working with the pharmaceutical companies to make sure, these stats are implemented. I mean, every 30 days you got to renew this. What the hell? There's no way you're going to be able to go to anything in New York. Done. Zero. So what? Who the hell wants to go to New York at this point? I mean, between the expense, which was already getting me, and now the soaring crime rate, F it. And finally, Graham urges Fauci to assess if Biden border policies are creating a beer virus super spreader event. Yeah, probably is. I mean, the stat I saw yesterday, 10% of the people crossing the border illegally are positive. Lindsey Graham on Monday once again urged infectious disease expert Dr. Fauci to visit the U.S.-Mexican border to determine whether Biden administration policies are undercutting the nation's Herculean efforts to control the spread. Graham published a letter to the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Fauci on Twitter, saying he hopes Biden chief medical advisor will travel to the southern border to survey what many can be considered a public health crisis related to the surge. If the Biden administration is the Biden administration undermining the work to stop the spread of beer virus, the current policies and procedures in place, where you're kind of setting them up there, Graham. I kind of understand why he's not responding. You probably don't expect him to. Given the dire overcrowding situation, the Biden administration has decided to quickly release migrants from these facilities. In many cases, the American taxpayer is paying to transport them thousands of miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. Yeah, I mean, it's like you're spreading the virus further in the country. Oh, we got the virus under control. Well, let's spread a bunch of foreigners who, random ones of them, are infected. So, and Fauci doesn't seem to care at all. He's not going there. They're not I mean, I guess they tested the kids. I saw that some of the kids got tested and were isolated. But, I mean, when the facilities flooded at 1,700%, how are you going to keep that under control? There's no way. There's no way with that many people in the facility. There's no way you're going to keep it under control. So that's the state of the beer virus in the U.S. these days. I wouldn't look forward to Biden's release of us until the Democrats find some other issue to oppress us with. Right now, this one's working well for them, still. So I don't expect them to release anything until, economies start breaking. Here in New Jersey, where Phil Murphy, again, just straddles halfway between Democrats and Republicans, and he's slowly ticking it up. I guess we're at 50% capacity now. I got to do a Piney podcast and catch up. So that's where we are. I don't know. Hang tight. More to come.